くださいな永遠を手にしたいなんでさくださいな永遠を手にしたいなんでさ見せつけたい強さを感じていたいミニコリコの欲は人の姿クイーンについてしまえ骨の隅までもこのまま消し去ってしまってもいいさ涙流れ出る涙は誰のためなの気まぐれなジェニー叫びまくるイカれるようにその命果てる時まで叫べ時を止めな狂いましょう我を忘れて生きるようにゴージャスは歓喜の救い神様奇跡をくださいなそれを手に入れるだけさ操りたいもてそびたい朝どりこな毒は悪の腹が噛みついてしまえ骨の隅までもこのまま消し去ってしまってもいいさなのに震わせる心は誰のためなのもう嫌だ嘘は嫌怖くまでジェニージェニーわがままなジェニー
What's going on here? Just be a second. Hello, good evening, and welcome to the latest Star Fury Facebook Live. We've been doing this for a while, but every so often we have a very special one when we're joined by a guest. And tonight, very excited to welcome one of our favorite guests to work with, who's been doing our events. This year will be her third year joining us at Star Fury conventions. So I'm very delighted to welcome for an interview tonight, the lovely Miss Kristina Tonteri-Young. Hello, Kristina. How are you doing?
Hello, Sean. I'm well, thank you. How are you?
long time no see. Have you been keeping busy over the
Indeed,
past year?
I have.
Yeah,
I've been trying.
yeah.
Yes.
Surviving the hot weather at the moment as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm not in the UK right now, so I'm
Oh,
okay.
right. Yeah. So we open for tonight. We open this to questions from your fans. We had questions from
Mm.
all around the world, a lot. So I've whittled them down. I did cut out. We had about 50% of them were asking when there's going to be a season 3 of Warrior Nun. So the demand's still there. People still want to see it, and people are still
That's always
discovering
lovely
it
to hear.
and loving it. So the
Mm.
first question we've got is from Rari. He's a regular at our events, and he comes from Scotland. And he asks, would you be able to describe Alba Baptista in 4 words or less?
That's quite difficult because she's a multifaceted, lovely person. I guess multifaceted is one.
Yeah.
Very loving, um, intelligent, and let's say twinkly.
That's a good description. So multifaceted, loving, intelligent, and twinkly.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question is from Anastasia, and she comes from Greece. And she asks, having a background that blends Finnish, Chinese, and American, how do these different cultural perspectives shape the way that you approach a role or inhabit a different character?
I don't know that I mean, that's a hard question to answer. That's a very good question.
Mm,
Um, I mean, obviously, inherently, by me inhabiting those different identities, they are always going to be present in some way in every role that I play. I'm not sure that I can take that away ever fully, because it is still at the end of the day, it is you doing the part. Um, but I feel like that would be a better question to ask from someone like Sarah or a director that I've worked with. Like it's
right,
quite hard to
yes.
be objective about yourself in that way. But I guess being multicultural and in at the core of it, it does give you a very wide understanding of the world around you. It does kind of allow you to kind of feel at home anywhere and with a wide range of people. Um, I think it cultivates a sort of empathy that I find very useful when looking at stories and when looking at parts. Um, but as in how it actually affects how I play parts, I'm not sure that I'm the most helpful person to say that. Can't really be objective about that. So, but yeah, I hope that kind of answers the question.
Now, Devon P from Virginia, USA, they wanted to know, have you had any martial arts training and what did you have to do physically to prepare for your role on Warrior Nun?
Um, I've not had any martial arts training outside of. Have I? No, I don't think I've had any martial arts training of
Mm,
note outside of the stunt training for Warrior Nun. In both seasons, we did start training a couple of weeks before we start shooting, just because there's quite a few fights and they wanted us to
yeah.
have some basic training. Especially in season one, I think we had about 2 weeks or something of pretty intense training. Um, just to get us to know how to use all the different firearms and safety stuff like that. And then because we all fight in different styles, we did have some training in the specific style that we are supposed to be portraying, just to kind of get the basic nuance of the movement down.
Mm.
So we did some boxing, we did some, basic martial arts drills, and then kind of more individually with our stunt person. But that was both seasons we had that preparation time. In season 2 it was more fight focused, like choreography focused, because we were going to have so many fights and we were going to be on a really tight schedule, and we really wanted to nail the big choreographies down before we started shooting, because once you start shooting you're basically learning the choreography like offset somewhere on your lunch break, and they didn't want to leave all of the choreography down to lunch break time,
Yeah.
which was great for us. We don't like lunch break choreography learning. We like lunch break eating.
So Pauline, who comes from Germany, she went, when did you realize the impact that the relationship with Ava and Bia's storyline had and still has on the LGBT community?
I guess the penny really dropped once I started kind of getting the feedback, like on
Mm.
Instagram and on Twitter and well, now X, um, and and then actually really coming to Star Fury and doing conventions. I guess that's really when the penny started to drop. Obviously, when I'd read the script and I'd spoken with Simon and Jet Wilkinson and all of them in the beginning, we'd known that it was going to be a relationship. There was going to be a romantic
Mm.
relationship between the two of them, and that would be an important part, that a lot of people were going to look at and feel connected to, hopefully, or we hoped that it would be. But I don't think I really realized the impact until after the show had come out, and really getting that firsthand feedback, um, response. Yeah.
So Chloe from Queensland, Australia, she says, what were your first steps to become an actor?
Oh, hold on, Sean, you've cut out a little bit.
Okay,
Can you please repeat the question?
sure. Now,
Thank
this
you.
one's from Chloe in Queensland, Australia, and she wanted to know, what were your first steps to becoming an actor?
My first steps to becoming an actor. Um, well, I guess the very, very first kind of when the idea was born in my head, the first thing I did was read a lot of plays, um, to kind of find out if I was actually interested, or whether this was just kind of some kind of fanciful flight of my imagination. Um, and then I did a short course at like an acting studio in New York to kind of be like, well, I've liked the plays that I've read, but do I actually like speaking it? Because if I like reading it, but I hate saying it, then that would be a big problem. So I think I took a monologue course, like a kind of might have been a 2 or 3 day workshop, and just kind of picked a random monologue and went there and then had to go up in front of a bunch of people and do it. And that was kind of my first introduction to acting. And then I did a Meisner technique course, in New York at the acting studio as well, um, which was I think a really good kind of foundation to start off of. Um, and then yeah, and then doing like Shakespeare courses in the UK, the summer courses, like RADA, the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art has a really nice Shakespeare summer course, a 6-week course, and then so I did that for 2 summers, I believe, and then drama school, for university,
So
something like
Jan
that.
now we have Jan Marian Inner from the Philippines, and she has said,
Mm.
you've played characters who fight both battles that are both physical and emotional. So what does real strength look like to you off screen?
um, Choosing your battles, emotional and
Mm.
physical. I think that's knowing which battles are actually worth your time and
Mm.
and effort. Um, Kind of being able to judge what battles are ego battles and what battles are battles that you actually are fighting for the right thing. What is the thing? Yeah, I think real strength is also knowing when to walk away from something. Yeah.
Now, Maori from Brazil says, your acting always conveys so much soul and intensity. What is the most difficult emotion to portray truthfully on screen? And how do you connect with it when the camera turns off? Turns on.
When the camera turns on,
Yes. How do you
how do I
connect
connect with it?
with this emotion?
Okay. Fear, I think, like terror, is one of the hardest for me to act, because when you're startled by something, it only lasts about a fraction of a second, like the real kind of starting. I think sustained fear is quite a hard, like either like the startled fear or sustained fear. They're both quite difficult because when you're in a state of real terror, in a sustained, in a long, or for a long period of time, it's very, very exhausting, and you're doing a lot with your body. It's quite tense and all of that. It's quite hard to
Hmm.
get into that state of mind and state of physicality when you're not actually in any real danger. Um, Whereas kind of like sadness and anger and grief and those kinds of feelings are kind of somehow easier to conjure up in your body, but fear is very hard. I think there's like it's a very technical way. I think there's a very technical way to get into a state of prolonged fear on screen, and that has a lot to do with your breathing, tensing very specific certain bits of your body. Um, it doesn't mean that I'll ever get like actually scared when I'm acting fear. But it is, or I've never, to this day, I've never been able to fool myself into
Yeah.
actually being scared. But I have been able to get close by doing the physicality and the kind of breathing of it, the technique of it. So yeah, fear is, I think, the hardest one to do truthfully. Yeah.
Now, Ray from Australia wanted to know, what's something a character taught you that no person ever has?
What's something a character has? That's a very, very good question. Um, I mean, a lot of things. But if we're just going to choose one, I guess there's two ways of looking at this. There's something that it was like a part of your character that you learned something from the character itself, and then there's a way of answering this of like doing this character, acting as this character taught me something about myself. Um, I think doing this last project that I did with Sir Kenneth Branagh, that character taught me a lot about my process as an actor, what I'm like as an actor, and what I would like to work on in the future. I think it was a lesson in letting go of a lot of things, a lot of ego, a lot of like preconceived notions that I have about myself as a performer. But if I answer the other side of that question, or the other way that you could answer that question, um, yeah, I think like stand up, fight the fights that you believe you have
Hmm.
to. Going back to choose your
Yeah.
battles, but choose them. Like don't run away from them. Actually choose them. Um, it's all right to fight our battles and every now and then if it's for the right reasons.
Now, Karen Sizibia from Zimbabwe wanted to know, what is your process like when it comes to preparing for emotional scenes?
Um, it differs um, depending on the type of scene it is, and the type of character it is. I think emotional scenes here means probably like crying or like anger or something like that. That's kind of the world that I'm putting it in. Music usually helps a lot, regardless of what the scene is. Usually I'll have a playlist. I call them my cry lists. I'll make a playlist for that character specifically, for when they need to cry, when I need to cry as the character. And then there is a very specific kind of process that I go through, and it is different for everyone because the psychology of every character is going to be different. But I'll kind of it's quite complicated to explain, but I'll go through the past or the known past of that history of that character, their kind of history, and I'll anchor the current scene into certain things about their past to kind of make a link between the present and the past that will kind of allow me to bridge that thing with emotion. Yeah, that usually something like that, but it's different versions of the same similar thing, but every time is different depending on how I'm supposed to cry or be angry or kind of what the situation asks for. But yeah.
Now, Yosrina from Tunisia, she wanted to know, as an actress, do you prefer film, theatre, or television, and why? She was also wanting to know, how do you deal with rejection or criticism that you face in the industry?
Badly. No, I'm kidding. Film, television, or theatre. I think my favorite format to watch is film, but I think I like doing shows because you really do get to spend a lot of time with the people and kind of be immersed in that production.
Yeah.
And that's really nice. Sometimes I feel like on a film, it's about 6 or 7 weeks. You get there, and by the time like you're really getting on with people, then it's like, okay, it's time to go. Bye. That's a wrap on everyone. So I really do like spending a long period of time with people. And how do I deal with rejection? I feel like I've gone through many different forms over the years. I think it was somehow a lot easier in the beginning. I think it's been, it's that thing. It's like, this is not even my final form. Like, I don't know if we'll ever reach a day when we are fully okay with like the constant rejection. I think there's been phases where I've kind of kid myself into being like, oh, it's fine, I don't care. Like, there'll be other opportunities, but like deep down, you do care. And I think you do need to keep caring. I think there's like something that always worries me is like, will there be a day when I just don't care anymore? And that's the day when I won't want to do it anymore. But I think it's just like, it's that thing, water off a duck's back. Like, you can't let yourself kind of suck in every single no or every single no reply. You just have to kind of let it slide off of you and believe that the things that are supposed to come to you will come to you, and kind of live with that belief. But obviously there's like it's a cycle. Like, I noticed myself revisiting year after year the same kind of phases, being like, yeah, I'm full of hope, like all the right things are going to come to me, and then 6 months later I'm like, I hate everything. And then by the end of the year I'm like, yeah, new year, new me, like it's going to be great. And then 6 months later it goes in these cycles, and you just kind of have to roll with it, I think.
Bianca from Brazil was asking, have you ever had to learn something completely new for a role?
Yeah, I mean, all of the martial arts stuff was pretty new. I had never fired a pistol before that, so I had to learn how to take apart a pistol and put it back together. What else have I had to learn for parts? That film hasn't come out, but I had to learn a bunch of choreography that I'd never done before, for Dancing Through the Shadow. And yeah, I can't think of anything else.
Now, Robin from Vermont, in America has asked, quite a long question, this is a good one. Your two most recent films, Love is the Monster and The Last Disturbance of Madeline Hind, are both thrillers, albeit very different kinds, one horror, one psychological. Was there any commonality in how you prepared for each film, and how different was the vibe between these two sets?
I will start at the end of that question. Very good
Okay.
question. The vibe was vastly different. I think these two directors work very, very differently, and that makes the set a very, very different atmosphere, temperature. I would like to say that the temperature on Love is the Monster was quite nice and cool. I think it was mostly quite a fun and relaxed set. We did a lot of shooting outside, so we were all kind of breathing the fresh air, and we were in the elements, and that was quite nice. It felt like, it felt like a summer film. Like, it really felt like we were doing something that was very much in connection with nature, which made sense for the subject matter. But with Madeline Hind, I think we were in this tent, this enormous, huge domed tent, which was our studio, and it was boiling hot. And I speak of temperature as like, it's not only the actual temperature, but like the emotional temperature. But I feel like the temperature on that set was constantly quite high. Not in the sense that anybody was losing their minds, but you could feel that we were doing a thriller. Like, I think there was, what I think Ken Sir Branagh does brilliantly is that he blurs the line between when you're acting and when you're not. And so he wanted this atmosphere to constantly feel like the stakes are really high and anything could happen, and we're all very like focused and in this the tube of creation, the birth canal, so to speak. Like, we were all in this very dark studio, and we were all very focused, and we're all really in it. And so there is a very different process for those two films. And please remind me of the first part of the question, because I've very
The
bad
first
memory.
part of the question was there any commonality in how you prepared for each film?
Yeah, I mean, I've got my process for everything that I do. Is I will read the script multiple times, all the way through, and I'll kind of read it, and then I'll finish it and go straight back to the beginning and read it again, and I'll do that until I feel like I could tell anyone the story in quite big detail in my sleep. And then I'll go through it just for my lines. I'll kind of highlight everything in about like 4 different colored highlighters. So I'll highlight my lines, all this, and then in a different color, all the scenes I'm in. And I'll usually post-it note them and write the scene number on the post-it note, so I can kind of flip right to that scene. And then I'll, again, a different colored highlighter, highlight all of the action that takes place in the scene. So all the stage directions that I'm mentioned in or that I'm involved in. And then what's the 4th highlighter? I have a 4th highlighter, but I forget what it's for. Oh yeah, I mark the clear beginning and midpoint, or the turning point of the scene. And then as I'm going through and filming, I'll have a pen that I kind of cross off every scene that is done, so I know exactly what's done when I look at the whole script. So that's pretty much what I do for every script. And from there on, it kind of becomes a bit different depending on the production on the project. I'll take a clean sheet of paper, and I'll look through the script, and I'll write down all the information that anybody gives about my character, and I'll write it all out on a piece of paper. So I have all of the kind of given circumstances that are straight from the script. Either somebody says something about me or to me that gives me information about me, and then everything that I say that gives information about me to other people. So it's all on a piece of paper, because then from there I can start building what then becomes the kind of skeleton of the character.
Do you know when the films are going to get released?
I do not. The hope is that it's so the last I heard is that Madeline Hind is pretty much done. So I think they're hoping for end of the year. Yes.
Because I'm looking forward to seeing them. Now, we have a
So
question
am
from
I.
Helena. We got a question from Helena in the UK, and she wanted to know, what was it like working with Jodie Comer?
She's lovely. I feel like we started off with quite a big chunk of scenes, so we never got like the opportunity to really just have like, oh, we're just gonna sit here and chat, and it was like a lot of text and it was just her and I in a car, just the two of us for an entire day, doing scenes that were like full of monologues and just talking. So I think we both were quite not nervous, but quite aware of the fact that there was a lot to be done, and a lot of talk jabber going on. And I was very nervous because I think that was that might have been my first day on set.
Yeah.
But yeah, but so it was kind of like a trial by fire, as Ken said. He was like, yeah, this is your trial by fire. And I was like, this is great. Thank you so much for thinking of me when you set up the shooting schedule. But she was lovely. We chatted a little bit in the car, but I know that we were both, she's very focused, and I respect that a lot. She's kind of always able to keep her cool on set. She doesn't seem to get distracted very easily. So an utter professional, and kind of, I think I learned so much just kind of watching her work. So yeah, just a pleasure.
So Kisma from Malaysia wanted to know, what are your hopes and dreams for the future?
That's a very good question. I think I'd like to start making my own work. I think I want to write, and I would love to direct at some point. Obviously, I always wish to do projects that I find not only interesting but relevant. I want to work with people who are not afraid to say the things that need to be said. And I hope that I will become one of those people as well. So yeah.
Now, Eva from the Czech Republic wanted to know, if you could spend a day with any literary or film character, who would it be?
A day with literary or film character.
Yeah.
That's quite a wide range of literary or film character. That's a really hard question. Why is that the one that stumps me? I think it's that classic thing when you ask somebody to say something in their language and they're like, I don't know words. Like, I've never read a book, I've never seen a film, I don't know what you're talking about. Can we come back to this question?
Okay, then.
Please.
Now we've got Matilda from Denmark, and she goes, what's your go-to homemade meal?
Stir-fry vegetables with so spicy stir-fried vegetables.
Yeah.
With kind of like a mix of different sauces, and maybe some chicken.
Hmm.
But mostly it has to have uh, cauliflower in it. The vegetables, not the chicken.
Right. Yes. Okay.
The stir fry must have cauliflower in
Yeah.
it. I feel like I said that in a really unclear way, but there we go.
Now, Michelle from New York, I think she's asking for some advice here, but she wanted to know where is your favorite spot to where is your favorite spot to surf when you used to live in New York?
Well, in New York, in New York State, there's
Hmm.
only really one, um, which is Far Rockaway,
Hmm.
Rockaway Beach, which is at the end of the A train line. Um, but if you want to go a bit further out, Montauk is really nice, and they
Yeah.
have great lobster sandwich. Montauk, really nice waves. A bit more dangerous because it is rocks and cliffs and stuff. So do go with, if you are going to go with a group of people who've surfed there
Hmm.
before. But Far Rockaway is pretty chill. It's a
Do you
sand
still
beach,
surf?
and yeah, I mean, I don't live by the ocean anymore, so
Hmm.
not as often as before. But it's just you got to make trips now.
Yeah. Zel Flores from Mexico, they want to know, have you ever had a paranormal or scary experience?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think myself, like everybody in the world, has always, has had those moments where I'm alone somewhere and I look into the corner of a room and it seems kind of darker than the other dark corners of the room, and the hairs on the back of my neck stick up, and um I find I'm quite I'm not sure if I can describe like a paranormal experience, but I'm very prone to bad dreams. I have quite a lot of nightmares. It's like,
Oh,
I think there's certain apartments or certain places that I seem to have more nightmares. Um, so I don't know if that counts, but I like there was a flat I was living in, and from the very first night I slept in that flat, I had this horrible nightmare where there was like a creature on the wall, and I'm not actually sure if I was actually sleeping or if I was having like sleep paralysis, because I do get that as
hmm.
well. Um, but there was a creature on the wall, and it was screaming at me to let it in, and I screamed at it to go away, and not back. And then I woke up as I was kind of saying it out loud, or I was able to kind of get up out of bed. And then ever since that, I was having nightmares until I
Oh
moved
dear.
out. Recurring nightmares of the same thing happening over and over again. Like I was having nightmares of like dying horses. It was really disturbing. I was like, otherwise I loved the flats, and I was like, I don't know
Yeah.
what's going on here, but I just couldn't sleep properly there.
Oh,
So yeah, that's a very interesting thing. But I'm not sure if that counts as like a paranormal. I don't know.
it could be. Mhm.
I might have just been stressed. I don't know.
Yeah. Now, Flo, who comes from Argentina, they wanted to know what your top 5 films are.
Mm, um, top five. Let's go. What dreams may come.
Hmm.
Um, this is a weird one. Um, so don't judge me for it, but it's a comes from my childhood, and it's kind of like a comfort film, which will also be really weird if you know what the film is actually about. 13th Warrior with Antonio
Hmm.
Banderas.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a good film, that
so
is.
that's two. It is a good film. I feel like it's like a weird film to be like, this is my comfort film. I'm like, got cannibals in it. um, Number three. These are not in any specific order, by the way.
Yeah.
Number three. Uh, Lord of the Rings: The Fellowship of the Ring.
Hmm.
Number 4. I'm just throwing films that first come into my mind because I'm like, if it's not important to me, I'll have forgotten about it. So if it's important, I'll remember it. Number 4, Shawshank Redemption.
Mm-hmm.
And number 5, come to me, a film that I like. But it's technically not a film. It's a mini series. Does
No,
that count?
we'll let it slide this time because it's you.
The 1995 Pride and Prejudice,
Hmm.
the mini series.
Yeah.
Yeah. That specific one though.
Now this is a bit of a crazy question. Katie from America wanted to know, what is your favorite Pokemon?
Bulbasaur.
What are that one's powers?
I don't remember, but it's my favorite one. It's so cute.
Oh, what was that? Bulbasaur.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Wendy from Phoenix, Arizona asks, do you have a favorite memory from getting to meet your fans in person or like this during a Q&A online?
Favorite memory. I think the first Star Fury that I did, like the first thing where you bring us up on stage to introduce us to open the con. I think just walking out on the stage and seeing everyone's faces and being like, you're all here. It's just kind of because you know when you're online with people and you kind of don't see people are using my face as their profile photo, and I'm like, I'm just talking to myself here. Like, this is great. But then you actually see people's faces, and you kind of learn to know who's who, and that's kind of really special. So I think the first time that I kind of saw everyone's faces, yeah.
Now, Wolfie from Germany, they want to know, what are you most excited about for the upcoming con, and how do you relax, or what do you do after the con?
What am I most excited about? I don't know. I might bring a musical instrument to switch things up a little bit. So we'll see if I actually do that. But if I do that, I'll be very excited about that. And what do I do after a con? I sleep for a couple of days. My social battery usually runs out halfway through the morning on a Saturday. So the last day and a half, I'm pretty much running on empty. So afterwards, I'm like, I need to sleep. I need to take a Panadol and not think about anything. Yeah.
Now, the final question. This is from Rari in Scotland, and he wanted to know, what's the biggest gift you think is from meeting the Warrior Nun fans from all over the world and at various conventions?
What is the biggest gift?
What is the gift?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the question. I think your everyone's gratitude. I think that's been the greatest gift to receive, and I am very grateful for your. I'm grateful for your gratitude. No, silly thing to say, but it's a very kind of warm and lovely feeling, and it's a wonderful thing to be able to receive. So yeah, I think that's the most special. And to answer the question, the literary or film character, I think it would be really interesting to meet Beowulf.
Oh,
Like, yeah, like the one
that
from
was actually
mythology.
the very first literary character.
Yeah. Or Chaucer. That's an interesting. I mean, I guess he's an author, but I mean, he's also
Yeah.
a literary character. But his travels seemed raucous and interesting, so that would be an interesting one.
Well,
Yeah.
Kristina, thanks for joining us tonight. We're all
Thank
very
you.
excited to see you next month. It's just 5 weeks to go. So
Is it
beginning
only
of
5 weeks
August.
left?
5 weeks to go, yes.
Wow.
It'd be
time
nice,
flies.
be great seeing you and the other Warrior Nun cast, as well as the Fort Salem cast as well. So thanks for joining us tonight, and we'll see you in
Thank you
5
so
weeks'
much.
time then. And thanks for everybody who joined in,
Yes,
and
we
thanks for
will.
also to everybody who sent questions. Sorry we didn't get to do all of them, but thanks for everybody who sent in questions. I said we have them from all over the world. And if you haven't got your tickets yet to come see Kristina and the rest of the Warrior Nun cast and the Fort Salem cast, you can get them, got the link just there. So see you in 5 weeks' time, Kristina, and you take care till then.
Take care, Sean.
Bye.
Bye.